Welcome back. This is News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. Jazakallah, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, of course, one of the big stories that are happening this week is Israel's war with Lebanon and its battle with the group Hezbollah. And this has seen, of course, many civilians within that area needing assistance, needing help from various NGOs. And one of those NGOs is none other than our very own Africa Muslims Agency that are in Lebanon. They've been in Lebanon for many decades now, assisting many of the people that have been affected by previous wars. And joining me from the beautiful city of Medina in Saudi Arabia to talk about this, I'd like to welcome Hassan Choonara. Hassan, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for having me on this beautiful Thursday evening.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Hafiz Hassan, let's talk about Africa Muslims Agency in Lebanon. I mean, they've been there for a very, very long time, and each time there's a war, there's always something different that's presented, isn't it? How's, I know your brother is on the ground there, Hafiz Hussein. Talk to us about, the work that he's doing now and just trying to get the basics to the citizens of Lebanon.
Yeah, absolutely. The AMA South Africa team were in Lebanon to see the opening of the Amman School of Excellence. As the viewers back home in South Africa and the broader parts of Africa would know that the Amman School, an education in the Academy of Excellence for over 500 orphan children. And so his brother Hussein, brother Ashraf, and the donors from South Africa were there to see the opening of Amman School, but also to look at the ongoing projects of African Muslims Agency in terms of the bakery that's run every single day, the Dignity Tent campaign, the Seeing to the Needs of Families, amongst many other campaigns. And whilst obviously we're there, we know the escalation, the attacks in Lebanon over the last few days, resulting in them being kind of caught up in that. And immediately we had to start looking at the various schools. This week that we speaking about was a week where many of the schools across Lebanon supposed to open for its beginning of the academic year, and now most of them have been turned into places of refuge for the families, the over 100,000 people that have been affected from the south of Lebanon, now seeking urgent assistance in the schools. And as you saw, the footage coming out of the teams in Lebanon, the AMA teams on the ground, classrooms basically become your bedrooms, your lounges, etc. And we'll share some of the stories. So right now the teams are visiting schools by schools, but we are taking control of one specific school, and all the families coming to this school, we will be seeing to their needs, which we've already started from over the last few days.
I mean, Hassan, to touch on that, at the same time, it's a fight for survival also for the Africa Muslims Agency team that's down there. You were telling me off air that, missiles could be seen from further away. So, that just makes, the work even more difficult, even though, the AMA is trying their best to assist many of the citizens. They've also got to contend with the bombing that is happening from the Israeli military.
Absolutely. Speaking to the team on the ground, they're saying that every area they visited over the last few days, yesterday and the day before, was hit after they left. Just that thought going through your mind to think that you were there perhaps in that same vicinity or that area 24 hours prior or 48 hours prior, and now that area has been hit. You think that I'm one of the people who still remain in that area, and what's their condition? Are they okay? What are they doing? How are they coping? And also you think of yourself in a situation like this, in a sense that, you could have been one of those people. You could have been, one of those stats as well. You could have been amongst the numbers. And to think of, if I can use a word for us, the rawness, raw is in a raw situation, a live situation. That's what you find yourselves in. And it takes you back to Gaza and what's happening in Palestine and how the kids there, and they're seeing it live, and how are the teams who are working on the ground, African Muslims Agency teams and other teams, not only AMA, who are working in such a humanitarian space, have to cope with such a situation every single day of their life. And now we're seeing it firsthand. AMA South Africa team seeing it firsthand in the south of Lebanon.
Yeah, I want to touch on Gaza because that genocide is still continuing in that part of the world. It's really a testing time for the Middle East, isn't it? You've got Lebanon, are being bombed by the Israeli, and the Israeli military is doing the very same thing in Gaza. How is Africa Muslims Agency able to navigate both of them, given that there are such tight restrictions to each of these respective areas?
Well, obviously, we started with Gaza, and alhamdulillah, AMA has been active in Palestine long before October 7, 2023. Already seeing to the needs of orphans, seeing to the needs of families, paying the rent of widows, and conducting various relief efforts over the past many years. And I suppose when each war breaks out, the need then obviously increases, intensifies, and the activities of the organizations only increase. And so when October 7, 2023 broke out, we already had teams, Palestinian teams who do work for AMA inside Gaza, and that has continued over the last year. Yes, they're open to the risks like everybody else. We know by now that there is no safe zone. There's no safety, whether you are in a school building, whether you're in a United Nations or NGO institution, whether you're in a hospital, there is no safe zone anywhere in Gaza. And so the teams have been open to the risk, like the people are open to the risk. Right now, we are in 3 areas in Gaza. We are in Al-Mawasi, Khan Yunis, and Darbala, undertaking various efforts. One is the feeding, lentil soup feeding, distribution of dry food items. Because winter is setting in Lebanon and in Gaza, Palestine, Brother Faraz, the distribution of blankets, the distribution of pajamas for the ladies, as well as female hygiene kits is critical and key. We also have a water tanker in these 3 areas. 12,000 liters of water being distributed, going around to these 3 areas. Yes, it's open to the risk. It could be hit at any time, but people are in need, and we have to see to them as we speak, and we're finding a similar situation now in the south of Lebanon. Over 100,000 people affected. We are going to schools where we're supposed to be doing the opening of schools. We are seeing the classrooms. An elderly lady, just 48 hours ago, had a home, had a comfort of a home, had a mattress, had a kitchen, had a lounge, was living normally. And now they're sleeping on the concrete floor of a classroom, sharing communal bathrooms and toilets with hundreds of other people, dependent on people to bring them food, dependent on people to bring them blankets and pillows, and do not know when they will leave the school. And that's the situation, and that's the toughness of it right now. It's a live situation, and the AMA teams are there assisting with the various needs.
You're talking about South Lebanon, of course, that's close to the Israeli border. Any challenges that the AMA team is having from the Israeli authorities? Because we've seen, obviously, in Gaza from the Egyptian border that there was challenges that the Israeli military was presenting, and I know it was well documented last year, just post October the 7th. Talk to us about that, Hassan, what the team has been mentioning to you in the ground.
South Lebanon, alhamdulillah, it's still under Lebanese control, if you want to call it, under the various groups of Lebanon. But you cannot go to the actual south of where you can see occupied Palestine and Syria and the Lebanese border. Yes, we go there normally. We take our teams there. There you can stand on the Lebanese side, obviously, and across a distance, a short while, you can see the luscious lands of Palestine, the occupied Palestine, obviously, which we know it is Israel, and you can see the Syrian border. Now it's not possible to go there, to that area, because it's a live area, it's a live war zone, even a live conflict zone. There's rocket fire every single day, throughout the day, to and fro the different parts across the border, and so families having to leave their homes and leaving their place of stay. Apart from just their place of stay, people had jobs, people were going to school, people are living life, man, and now have to leave all that and just go into a refuge, into a school housing environment, and pray that doesn't get hit, and just be dependent, unfortunately, and don't know how long that be. But a few hours ago, they were okay, they were living life. Allah protect one and all, Brother Faraz. But if that were your situation, one day you're living a normal life, you're getting up, going to work, your kids are going to school, going to madrasa, there's food on the table, alhamdulillah, you have the means, you're going on day by day, and within an instant, life changes, and within an instant, you take what you can, and you go and you start looking for space. There are people driving around South Lebanon looking where to go. Not everybody's house at the moment. People are just in the cars, parked on the street, thinking, should they go to a school? It's overcrowded. Do we go to another school? Where do we go? People who may have family in the north, they'll go to the family in the north, but many people don't. and they find themselves in an instant in need. And when you see the story of what Hafiz was saying about Ashraf, talking about this lady on a concrete floor, which is 48 hours earlier, he had a bed, he had a mattress, he had a home. Today, she's sleeping on a concrete floor. The bitterly cold as winter sets in within the next few weeks, dependent on assistance. And that's what the teams are pleading on to people to donate as we assist these people.
Hassan, unfortunately, time has come to its conclusion. Again, Jazakallah so much for joining us. Please keep us in your du'as in the beautiful city of Medina and for the rest of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jazakallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's an absolute pleasure. That's Hassan Choonara from Africa Muslims Agency, just getting a bit of a detailed work on what they're doing on the ground in Lebanon. After the break, I'm going to be speaking to Dr. Tsepo Moloi. This is, of course, another developing story that's happening with the repatriation of freedom fighters that were, of course, outside of South Africa's borders when the ANC, the PS, and various other freedom fighting groups were stationed in the various SADC regions. I'm going to be talking to him with regards to the historical aspect of these freedom fighters. Do stay tuned to News in Focus.